Hello, listeners. Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Handsome Aaron Airport, we made it to another night of Keeping Canada Weird. How are you doing over there?
Oh, I'm doing great, doing good, hanging in there, as they say, you know.
Do you mean it? I know, this is a stressful time of year for people. The lead up to the holidays, There's so many obligations and expectations are sky high. Are you seriously okay?
I'm okay, yeah, I'm okay. I'm heading towards the finish line at work because we will be going on our holiday break starting at the end of this week. And I have a lot to do to get to the end of the finish line, but the finish line is within sight, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
For you and everyone out there in Keep Canada Weird Nation that are on the path to holiday vacation, keep going.
Yeah, keep swinging, throwing those haymakers.
Mm-hmm. Now, we often will start the show with our special drinks, but I want to play a listener voicemail first.
Before special drinks?
Yeah, and there's a reason why. Because at the end of last week's episode, you said your special drink this week is going to be salmon DNA, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, before you pull out the salmon DNA and start drinking it, I want to play you this voicemail from Tamsin.
Hey guys, I just finished listening to your episode where you were discussing injecting salmon DNA into people, and I am not constrained by any rules about Googling, and so I immediately Googled it. And I just wanted to let you know that it's exactly what you were thinking about drinking. It's salmon jizz. So yeah, have a great day.
So let me ask you then, with all that said and that voicemail heard, is your special drink this week salmon DNA?
Well, not officially, but I did pick a special drink that in my imagination is how salmon DNA would look. My special drink for this week is called Snapple Zero. The listeners at home can't really see, but it's got kind of a salmony color to it, don't you think?
Yeah, if there was a big bucket of fish eggs and pond water, it would kind of look like your drink.
Oh, I can smell it. Oh my God. Oh, salmon DNA.
For this week's episode, my special drink is also courtesy of Haley, who sent me several special drinks a few weeks back. This is Canada Dry Ginger Ale, but it's not any old ginger ale. It's cherry ginger ale. So this is going to be nice for me.
Great.
I'm excited.
Oh, me too. We both have great special drinks tonight.
Like wind at our back, our special drinks will propel us through unpacking the weird, unique, and offbeat news stories that played out across Canada over the past week. We need to start with two updates, though, to past stories. The first one will be hopefully the final update related to the box of boxes of hockey cards that were found in a Regina, Saskatchewan basement about a year ago. I prepared the update in the form of a 1950s newspaper salesman style script. Do you want to give it a shot?
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure.
This is going to be a theme. I got a little inspired today.
I noticed
Picturing
that when I wasn't sure what you were up to, but I did notice the trend.
So, Aaron, it's the 1950s. You're standing on a busy street in Toronto trying to, I don't know, tell people news and get quarters.
Yeah. And I'm a young boy. I'm a young newsy boy, right?
Of course, yeah.
Extra, read all about it. Rare hockey cards fetch $3.5 million after auction drama. The dust has settled, folks. That jaw-dropping case of 1979 to 1980 O-Pee-Chee hockey cards found in a Regina basement seems to have finally found a home after a whirlwind auction saga that had Keep Canada Weird listeners on the edge of their seats. Back in April, big spender Jack Arshwashki of Toronto, a self-proclaimed tycoon with $200 million to his name, slapped down a winning bid of $5.2 million. The only problem, Jack never paid. Well, according to him, he tried, but something about millions disappearing in cyberspace prevented it. Heritage Auctions, the folks running the show, dusted themselves off and put the cards back on the block, where they found their new and hopefully paying owner on Thursday. The prize case, containing thousands of unopened card packs and potentially up to 27 Wayne Gretzky rookie cards, sold for a cool 3.5 million Canadian, and hopefully the second time's a charm.
So there you have it. We've been following this story since the beginning. It was big news when it first went up for sale because of how rare the discovery was. The auction was big news. It went up to $5.2 million Canadian. The seller didn't come through. Finally, it went up for auction again, and the new sale is only $3.5 million. It's almost $2 million less than the nut who backed out of the deal. So I kind of feel bad for the sellers, but it's kind of hard to feel bad for someone who found basically $3.5 million of stuff in their basement they didn't know about.
Yeah.
I don't feel that bad.
No, I don't feel bad either. In fact, I think after what happened where everything went awry with the previous sale, I was worried that was going to devalue the cards completely and no one was going to be interested in them once they went back on, up for auction. So I'm glad to see that at least they're getting a couple of million for them and everything seems to be going more according to plan than had originally gone.
One other update to get into, and maybe this isn't an update, but we can dig a little bit deeper into a story we covered last week as a result of an email that we got. At the last week's show, one of the final stories we talked about was the saga related to the weird sign in Dorchester, New Brunswick. We heard about how there was the welcome sign to the town was painted over from an easy place to live to a weird place to live. We traced the debate related to that sign to a man named Bill Steele, who moved to Dorchester from New Brunswick to buy an abandoned jail and turn it into an Airbnb. But a 2019 article was sent to us that I think explains the origin of the bad blood between Bill Steele and the town of Dorchester, or the village of Dorchester. And just like every other aspect of that story, it's a little weird. Why don't you set up the article and I'll quickly read through this one.
The newsboy is coming back. Extra, extra, read all about it. Dorchester goat drama heats up as court date looms.
It's Bill Steele versus Dorchester in a small town showdown that's got everyone talking. Bill Steele's 3 goats live in an enclosure next to the former Dorchester jail. And those goats are the subject of a lawsuit filed by the village of Dorchester. They're saying I'm running a farm. These aren't farm animals. They're my companions. The squabble started last June when the village ordered Steele to ditch his goats and his 5 chickens, citing zoning laws that only allow pets like cats and dogs in the community. Steele, refusing to budge, has now taken to social media rallying support to keep his goats where they are. Court set for May 6th, Steele says. What are they going to do? Throw me in jail? I already live in a jail. The old lockup, which Steele bought and turned into a bed and breakfast, might just see its quirkiest booking yet. Stay tuned for the verdict in this unusual barnyard battle. Now, I will tell you, I could not find a verdict or a result to this, but looking at Google Maps, I don't see this kind of goat pen on the side of the jail anymore. So I'm going to roll the dice and say that I believe Bill Steele lost this fight. And I think maybe he's pissed at Dorchester and he's like, you want to screw with my goats? Well, I'll screw with your sign. And if so, I'm still on hashtag Team Bill Steele.
Yeah, I'm always on Bill Steele's side. He's Bill Steele, damn it. I mean, over and over again, the guy is drawing national attention to this small town with several different ways that he's been doing this, with the jail and with the farm attached to the jail and the sign and everything.
He's doing more than his fair share of keeping Canada weird. So Bill Steele, we salute you. We got to get into the stories though, because we've spent a lot of time setting this up. There's been a lot of weird news stories that are fresh off of the news cycle that we got to get into. Let's have a short break, regroup, take a deep breath and a sip of our special drinks. Our first duo going to be two controversial stories, so we're going to have to go in prepared for this. Handsome Aaron Airport, I don't want to step on any toes here. We've talked a lot about negative stories related to animals, specifically stories that involve harm to animals. I'm sad to say that our next story is about a killing of a rabbit in Nanaimo, BC, but it's so unusual that we do have to cover this. Could I ask the newsboy to pitch this story?
Yeah, or do you want to be the newsboy this time? And then I'll come in as...
Extra, extra, read all about it. Rabbit killing sparks controversy in Nanaimo.
A grisly scene at a fish cleaning station near Nanaimo, BC has left locals hopping mad after a man was seen killing a rabbit in broad daylight. The incident occurred around 4 p.m. on November 17th, when the man grabbed a rabbit, killed it with a knife, and removed its skin. He then left with the animal in a pickup truck. A witness disturbed by the act reported the incident to Nanaimo RCMP, providing a description of the man and his vehicle's license plate. Officers tracked down the man to investigate if any charges were warranted and determined the act was not criminal. The rabbits in question, feral European rabbits and eastern cottontails, are considered invasive non-native pests on Vancouver Island, which means they're not protected under BC's Wildlife Act. As a result, hunting, trapping, or killing them on Crown or private land is permitted without a license or permit. In a weird twist, Nanaimo's animal responsibility bylaw prohibits feeding feral rabbits, but doesn't ban their capture or killing. Furthermore, regulations preventing firearms and animal trapping within city limits don't apply to incidents like this, as a knife was used. A Nanaimo RCMP spokesperson stated, "What the individual did does not contravene any laws. It was not on private land. Rabbits are not indigenous to the island, nor firearm or trap was used, and therefore it was not unlawful what he did. If he had killed the animal for the sake of killing it, that would be a different story. But that was not the case. He ate the rabbit."
I love that cop.
Yeah, he turned into Gandalf there for a bit.
Yeah, well, no, this episode's like a period piece.
Yeah, it felt like it needed it. Like he was some kind of an old-timey constable or something.
That story came from a listener named Jennifer. That completely missed me. I didn't hear anything about this, and I don't think it got any mainstream kind of news coverage, but I found several local stories about it. I think the whole thing's bizarre, but by the sounds of it, some man just kind of at a fish cleaning station. So this must be like a little area where fishermen kind of unload their harvest of fish and do what they do to them. But it sounds like he just grabbed a rabbit, probably with his hand, killed it, skinned it, got in his truck, drove home, and ate it.
Yeah, I when I first read this story, I wasn't really registering that it was at a fish cleaning station.
Yeah,
Whatever that kind of means. Like, is it an area of like, do you know?
Well, I know where this happened was near a boat launch at a fish cleaning station. So there must
Okay.
be a spot where, like, a boat launch is an area where boats can get in and out of the water. And I'm guessing if it's fishing boats, it would kind of make sense that they're also taking, fish and stuff on and off the boats. So maybe a fish cleaning station could be to like actually clean them before putting them in, like, I don't know, containers or something, or it could be cleaning them as in like cutting them open.
That's
and
what
doing
I
all
was
that.
thinking. Like, is there fish gutting already happening in this area? So maybe this individual thought, well, I'm gonna do the same to this rabbit. It's not really that out of place.
Yeah, maybe he could have been one of the people that do the fish cleaning, and he's so desensitized to it that it's nothing for him to be like, I'm gonna like kill and cut these fish and eat them later, and I love rabbits, so there's one, I'll grab it. And like maybe it's just like nothing to him. It's kind of like for you and I when we open a loaf of bread and pop some bread in the toaster. That's to us what it is to him to do this to a rabbit in front of some poor horrified person that called the police.
Yeah, I could see that being a disturbing sight for sure if
Oh
you're
yeah.
just kind of taking a casual stroll. Because again, when I first read it, I was imagining it happening in like a public park,
Yeah.
families, children playing soccer and people having picnics and then a guy just picks a rabbit up and skins it alive and then
Mm.
just,
It's
takes its carcass away.
but people do eat rabbits, and rabbits are like that article says. I hate to think of it this way, but they are an invasive species. They shouldn't be there hopping around on that island. The problem is rabbits are so damn cute. They're
Yeah,
adorable.
yeah.
They're as cute and lovable as cats or dogs, I think. The way they hop and their big ears and the sweet
Yeah, I
noses.
guess when you're not consenting to the act of it happening right in front of you, like the guy probably should have, I guess in hindsight, been like, "Oh, do you mind, madam, if I skin this adorable rabbit in front of you?"
It's weird that he would do it though, like to see like just like a little animal hopping by and grab it. But I guess what's the difference between that and fishing?
I guess there's not really that much of a difference when you think about it.
Yeah.
I
And
think
just
we're more socially accustomed to fish being gutted in front of us, but not
and
necessarily cute animals.
yeah, because fish aren't cute. I find them gross. I also don't eat fish. I also don't hunt. So I'm ignorant to all this stuff. But just like you said, I think socially and culturally, the idea of pulling fish out of the ocean, killing them, cooking them, and eating them, it's like that doesn't. I don't bat an eye at that because that's normal. But to do the same thing to like a rabbit or a deer, like I want to like dive in front of them and take the bullet because I
Yeah,
love
because
them so much.
imagine, because like fishing happens all over the place, like at parks and on docks and in
Mm.
very public places and cities and nobody bats an eye at how a fish is treated. So it's brought up on a string with a hook at its mouth
Through
and
its mouth.
often clubbed to death.
Yeah, it's
And then
disturbing.
it is. So imagine if all of the adorable animals that people love to pet were treated that way publicly.
Hmm.
You know, which is kind of what happened here.
Okay. We've talked about harming animals. Let's move on to an even more controversial topic, and that is discussing someone's weight with them publicly. That's something you should never do, right? Like, are you pregnant? Imagine saying that to someone. Unless what Madeline Klein says is until the baby has left their body, don't ask them. And you've seen it happen. Don't ask them if they're pregnant.
Yeah, and I don't care enough about people's pregnancies anyway to ask. So
Yeah, but sometimes it feels like you should say it when you see someone and they're obviously pregnant. Like I feel like saying it. But anyway, needless to
I
say,
mean, like, what do you feel like saying? Are you pregnant or
congratulations. Like I haven't seen you in 6 months and like, wow, like, are you pregnant? Slap. Um, all that to say, discussing weight is a very controversial topic. Body positivity, all this stuff. It's complicated. It's a minefield and it's emotional and it could be very disrespectful to even go there. And that's what makes this next story so interesting. We'll call this one waterslide weight limit enforcement in Windsor, Ontario. So here's a story that's literally making waves across Canada. A Windsor mom is speaking out after being told she couldn't ride a water slide with her son due to a new weight restriction. She says this experience has left her feeling embarrassed, and she's now raising concerns about how these rules are enforced. Here comes the story, and we'll see if you're brave enough to talk about this one. Here it comes.
A Windsor woman wants to see this indoor water park change the way it's handling a new weight limit on one of its slides.
Adventure Bay's Python slide carries multiple people in a tube down a winding path, dumping them into a pool of water. Jessica Cameron and her son went up a number of steps to get to the top. Once there, they saw that the weight limit to go on the slide had been cut in half to 300 pounds.
In order to go down, you now have to be weighed, and the screen that shows your weight faces the lifeguard. Because Cameron and her son were over that weight limit, they couldn't go down together, so he went with another lifeguard.
I felt embarrassed. I felt like it was intrusive to me.
Cameron says that she's all for safety and rules, but thinks that there needs to be a better way to go about this. She teaches middle school girls, and so she thinks about how a moment like this could really impact them.
In 2024, I think that we need to be more sensitive towards people, towards mental health and body issues and all of these things. So while my skin is tough and I can handle that sort of thing, I don't know that everybody can, and I don't want them to have to go through that.
In an email, a spokesperson for the body that regulates these slides said there were 2 recent incidents where riders fell off the tube. The authority ordered the weight limit to be temporarily lowered until an engineering assessment and a test are done to confirm a total upper weight limit. Another inspection will be done soon. The city of Windsor owns the water park. It said in an email that the safety of guests is their top priority. It says there's signs telling people of the scale and weight change at multiple spots, even before they get to the top of the ride. But Cameron says there weren't any. The city added that the scale it had originally ordered, which weighs multiple people at a time and flashes a red or green light, hasn't come in yet. This one, it says, is used in the amusement industry.
One expert says that weighing people in this type of environment can be difficult for some. It can also trigger body image issues.
As for Cameron, she's just hoping organizations can find better ways of inclusive environments.
There's a lot to that story to talk about.
This story, yeah, it's complicated because I can totally understand where the woman is coming from.
But I also understand
where.
But it also seems like the place is just trying to keep things going while they do things that need to be done. So,
so I get her side of it, how it can be humiliating or, to be in that situation where you're told, oh, unfortunately, you're going to be too heavy to do this or to do that.
Yeah. And also, we didn't hear about it in the story, but you walk up these sets of stairs to get up to the top where the lifeguard is, you get weighed there. And she described having to make this kind of walk of shame back down the stairs, having been turned away in her bathing suit. Like, it would just be humiliating. And I feel for her big time.
Right. So did she... was it just the 2 of them combined? I'm not sure about this in the story. Was it the 2 of them combined that went over 300, or was that?
Yeah, it was like her and her son. Well, yeah, I don't know if it was
because then why didn't they just go down separately?
Yeah, it must have been her alone because her son. It led to her son going down with a random lifeguard.
Yes.
So it must have been her that couldn't ride, and her son was still able to go ahead with the lifeguard. So, at least good that happened. But the answer to this is I don't like, because it's the answer to avoid this. It seems like maybe they could just close the slide until they got a more sensitive scale or something, and that scale with just the green or red light come in. I don't like that idea either. I'd like the idea of just kind of finding a way to make it work, but it's and that's why it's a complicated situation, because it's kind of a lose-lose.
Yeah, I felt like in the news coverage they were giving the criticisms toward the business, but not offering up any tangible solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So where they were like, well, it should be a more inclusive process in determining the weight to ride the slide.
Yeah.
Like, what do you suggest that be? How do you suggest that this business goes about this situation? They've ordered a more appropriate scale. It hasn't arrived yet. It's not like they're showing your weight to everybody. It's the screens are turned around, but
Yeah, so no one should see it except the lifeguard. So I think that is kind of being sensitive. And like
yeah.
because whatever your weight is, it shouldn't be a secret from the lifeguard because they're there to follow the rules, make sure everybody's safe. And so it shouldn't be like them seeing it, I think is okay. It's kind of like when your nurse or doctor sees your like, test results or something like that. They're kind of a part of it.
Mhm.
So the lifeguard, I think, is should be a part of that. Uh, or not that they should be a part of it, but if anyone is going to see the number, it should be the lifeguard.
Well, in its current state, the lifeguard has to make the decision
Hmm.
if certain people are allowed to go down the slide for, based off of a safety assessment using weight.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
And the
the
people,
lifeguard is the only person that can make that call
yeah.
at this current time.
Well, do you think it would be reasonable for them to close the slide until the more sensitive scale comes in to avoid people being feeling embarrassed and singled out and stuff? Because I don't think that's the proper solution.
Well, who knows? We don't know how long it's going to take for this new scale to arrive.
But even if it was
Uh,
one day, like, should we shut the slide down or just use this kind of workaround?
well, they probably didn't anticipate this particular situation.
Yeah.
Because 300 is not a lot, like in terms of, because when you saw pictures in the news coverage, like promotional pictures of this slide, they had like three teenage boys sitting
Hmm.
in one tube,
Yeah, and if it's
right?
two people, like it must be 300 per rider because if two in the promotional video that was shown in the clip, there was also a spot where two men are going down together, and it's
Yeah.
like between the two of us, we're easily over 300 pounds, I think.
Yeah. Like
Do
even
you
if
want to say our
we're,
weight?
I don't know what my exact weight is.
160. I'm
Yeah, I'd
160.
say I'm
You're
around there between
you're probably a
150,
little
160.
less. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're probably
150, 160. Yeah.
Um, actually, maybe that can be our segue because a lot of people don't know what we look like. They hear our voice. Some people listen every Friday when these episodes drop, but they have no idea what we look like. Uh, if you do decide you want to check us out, let this voicemail from Cindy be a cautionary tale. A listener named
Yeah.
Cindy did get a physical look at Handsome Aaron Airport, and I'm thinking maybe we need to rename him Average Aaron Airport just
Right.
to set expectations. Here's what Cindy had to say
Let me have a
about.
drink of my sugar-free special
Mm,
drink before I hear this. Okay, let me have it.
Hi, Jordan and handsome Aaron Airport. I was catching up on your Keep Canada Weird stories because I hadn't got a chance to consistently listen to them in the past several weeks. And I was listening to the October 1st episode where the woman who had complained so heartily about things Aaron was saying issued somewhat of an apology over email. And she said she had looked him up to see what he looked like. And I couldn't help myself. I looked him up to see what he looked like. And I shouldn't have.
No, you shouldn't.
He's fine looking. He's sort of your average white guy. I mean, he's not bad looking. He's handsome enough, I suppose. But I guess having seen him now, it's sort of destroyed my whole image of him. It's kind of like when you read a book and you build an entire visual in your mind, and then you have to see a movie that is a rendering of the story, and it just kind of destroys everything you've built in your mind. So, yeah, I ruined Aaron Airport for me because now he doesn't look like anything that I thought he looked like, which is not, I guess, a bad thing, but I had sort of settled very comfortably into my images of what's going on when you guys are talking. So anyway, I really enjoy the banter. You guys are doing a great job. I love how you take everything in stride.
Mhm.
Some of the shit you say makes me laugh really hard. So keep going. Canada is sounding like a really good place to go right now. Thanks. Bye.
we take everything
Wow.
in stride, so let's hear you handle that one, Aaron.
Yeah, yeah. Well, fine enough. That's I'll take that actually. It
Yeah,
would have been
you've
a
been
lot
called
worse
worse.
if she came out and you're like, God, he is ugly. He is a troll, this guy. Oh my God. He is couldn't be more opposite to how I wanted him to look. But she's like, he's handsome enough, I guess. I'll take that.
I'll
I'll
take
take
it.
that. That's what I usually say when I look in the mirror every morning. I say, you'll
This'll
do.
do. This'll do for
Yeah,
today. I can leave the house.
you're just enough. Yeah. It's there's been a few times on this show that we've explained why I'm called Handsome Aaron Airport, and it has nothing to do with how I look.
Mhm.
It's a stage name that we used in our band when we used to play shows. And we all had stage names, and that was my stage name, and it was an ironic stage name. It was more done in jest, like kind of making fun of stage names, people who have stage names and call themselves handsome, and so it was kind of a
Almost like something out of pro wrestling. You were the lead singer, the front man of the band,
yeah,
and so like the front man of a band who's all confident would have a name like handsome so and so. So that's where it came from.
yeah. It was a satirical kind of take
Yeah.
on lead singers who have nicknames. And it had nothing to do with how I look. I can agree with Cindy. I'd fall in the average category. If you got to know me, spend a little bit more time with me, maybe see me, when I do my hobbies, like see me how I am when I'm home alone with my cat. Um, then you might really start to see me in a different light,
Mm.
Cindy. You might even come over to Anonymous's point of view and fall in love with me. I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, I do a lot of fun, neat things, and I really like playing Monopoly. It's my favorite board game. If you saw me win in Monopoly, you'd be like, you know what? It's on second thought, he's
Tell
really
her about
handsome.
the walks and stuff. Like you're always going on walks. Tell her about where you
I go for a walk
go.
every day. Every day I get home from work, I put on a warm sweater and my toque. I put in my headphones and I listen to a podcast about the Russia-Ukraine war. And I go for a nice long walk up to the hospital and back. And if you saw me doing that, if you drove by, you'd be like, yeah, he's he's getting more and more handsome the more I see him.
All right. With that said, let's take a quick ad break. When we get back, we have two stories of misbehaving senior citizens. And I'm so excited for this that I saved it for last. All right, Aaron, we got two exciting stories related to misbehaving seniors. I'm going to give you the choice. Do you want to go with a senior who's driving way too fast or a senior who may or may not be uploading pornography to YouTube?
I want to end on pornography, so let's go with
Okay.
driving too
So we'll
fast.
call this the 80-year-old stunt driver, and we're going to need our newsboy to set this one up.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Speeding senior stopped on Highway 37.
Ontario Provincial Police pulled over an 80-year-old man Thursday for stunt driving on Highway 37. That's right, 80 years old. The senior was clocked at a jaw-dropping 159 kilometers an hour in an 80 kilometer an hour zone. But that's not all. The driver's license was expired. The OPP didn't hesitate to lay down the law. The man's stunt driving charge means his license will be suspended for 30 days and his vehicle will be impounded for 2 weeks. And since his license is expired, he's not able to renew it for the next 30 days either. If convicted of the charges, the speedster could face a $2,000 fine, 6 demerit points, and a 1-year driving prohibition. Who says seniors slow down with age? Is 80 that old, though, to be like, what? Driving that fast? 80? I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is. Depends on the 80-year-old, I guess. Some 80-year-olds are pretty sprite, I don't know.
I don't know, but
But
that's damn fast. That's whether or not the 80-year-old has the cognitive or ability to and hand-eye coordination to manage that stuff. You'd think, regardless of all that, you'd think they'd know better. Going 160 kilometers an hour in an 80 zone is nuts. That's something like a
it's
17-year-old.
too fast for any age. It's for anybody to be doing. That's insane stunting. And It's so funny because like when you're driving, whenever you do see someone who's in their 80s driving, they're usually going 20 or 30 below the speed limit.
Yeah, you just see
And
their
you're cursing at them like, get off the road,
yeah.
you're too slow.
As you go past, you just see a gray wisp of hair, and you give it the finger and keep going. That sort of thing.
Yeah, then you follow them back to their home,
Yeah.
and then you slash their tires.
You have like a road rage thing. Yeah. But no,
Yeah,
not.
then you go up to their door and you scream at them. It's like if you if you get behind that wheel again, your grandkids are going to be hurt.
But I'd like to know what the story is behind this story. Is it some senior who just felt like I got nothing to lose and I got to get somewhere, so I'm just going to put the pedal to the metal? Uh, could be something like that. Could it be a story where it's someone who just shouldn't be driving because they're out of their minds and they don't realize how fast they're going? There's a lot of things at play here, but regardless, that speed is something that like the only way I would the only thing I would expect is someone who's like a teenager who shouldn't be driving. They got their dad's car and they're just fooling around with their friends and they do something this stupid. I wouldn't expect it from an 80-year-old. How do you live to 80 if you do stupid stuff like this?
Well, sometimes people, I don't know if it's genetics, but some people just live as long as they're planned to live, and they can do whatever they want in between when they're born and when they die, and it's not going to affect when they die.
Okay.
Just some people can just do it. But I always chalk up these unexplained speeding cases to having to go to the bathroom when you're driving.
Yeah,
There
that's
was another one we talked about before where I said the only thing that explains this is this guy really had to go to the bathroom and had to get home ASAP before he went in his pants. And I think this senior was in the same situation and said, you know what? I'm not going to be a stereotype. I'm not going to crap my pants in my car as an 80-year-old man. And I'm just going to
mm,
speed home.
okay. And I don't want to say I support that, but if you're going to do it, if you're going to do it, you need to have an excuse. And I guess like that's excuse is as good as any. Maybe better
Yeah,
than a
it's
lot.
the ultimate excuse. And I think any police officer, if they pull you over, so, you were going 50 above the speed limit, what was going on? So, well, I've got to go.
And the officer's like, go, pass,
Go now, go
hit
faster.
it. Uh,
I'll follow you. I'll lead you. I'll give you a police escort.
okay. Well, needing to use the bathroom won't explain this next story. We saved this one for last on purpose because I think we both know that this is a great story. I've been laughing about this all day. I've played it for my 12-year-old son, and he had a pretty good chuckle as well. Before we get into the
Yeah.
story, though, I think one thing that's necessary to explain is what Zoom bombing is, because I know not everybody uses Zoom in web conferencing and that sort of thing. Do you want to explain Zoom bombing?
Well, my very rudimentary understanding of Zoom bombing, because it's never happened to me, it hasn't happened to us when we record our episodes yet. But I guess it's when somebody hacks into your Zoom call and takes it over and can't be kicked out and does whatever they want to do in there.
The reason it doesn't happen to us is because people don't have the link to our Zoom call that we're using right now to talk remotely. But let's say if we were a group of 30 people and we were going to have a Zoom call together, and maybe I posted the link to access the Zoom call on like the Facebook group we all communicate on. The link to join the Facebook group could maybe get into someone else's hands, and they could choose to join our meeting and Zoom bomb, like curse and do crazy stuff. And until we figure out like who's making the noise and kick them out of the group, they can continue to shout and be crazy. And you hear it happening often in like, I don't know, there'll be like a court proceedings some court proceeding that's being live streamed for the public or something. And, someone will join it. And if there's 100 people in the meeting, it's hard to tell which of that 100 is the one that's, blasting heavy metal music or saying the F word over and over again. But ultimately, that's what Zoom bombing is. It's not so much hacking as it is
Okay. I always imagined it as that like you'd had a private Zoom conversation going on and then somebody hacks into it.
No, it's more just like someone gets the link to join it and just hops
Okay.
in when they shouldn't have. So let that be the intro for the story about a 93-year-old Toronto woman's YouTube trouble. So, a 93-year-old retiree in Toronto has been using her YouTube channel to continue hosting the types of conversations and debates that she's taken part in during her past career as a university professor and sociologist. But she recently faced a much different problem than any she was used to. Her YouTube channel was shut down with allegations that she was broadcasting pornography, and that's why she contacted the CBC. Here comes the story.
Because it's going to affect the whole world.
Meta Spencer is a retired University of Toronto sociology professor who's dedicated her life to making the world better. And at 93, part of that is through her YouTube channel, To Save the World, where she hosts conversations with experts about topics like war and peace, climate change, and ironically, cyber risks.
The idea is to stop the war.
More than a month ago, Spencer was hosting one of her monthly global town halls. They're done over Zoom and broadcasted live on YouTube.
We had a superb conversation going about Antarctica and the melting glaciers there. Suddenly there was an interruption. We had a Zoom bombing. So somebody busts in and starts showing videos, including pornographic videos, and insulting the other panelists and that sort of thing. And I couldn't get rid of them. They had taken over my computer.
Eventually, she was able to kick them out of the Zoom, but the damage was done. Her YouTube page was shut down shortly after.
I can't post to this, obviously.
More than 600 videos she'd posted, gone. Spencer spent a month trying to get YouTube to reactivate her channel and acknowledge that she didn't post the pornography.
YouTube didn't ever answer me.
It wasn't until after CBC Toronto contacted Google, YouTube's parent company, that her channel went back online. Spencer says she has no idea whether her page was targeted or if the Zoom bombing was random, but she does know her trust in YouTube has dwindled.
It strikes me as as a Saturday Night Live skit or something.
I'm concerned if this happens to her page again, who's going to save the world?
Yeah, seriously. If the panelists on her show, it sounds like a very sweet program. And the little clip that they chose to air, where it was that man like, the point is to stop the war. Like they're having these deep like conversations about these issues. And she doesn't even call the other people like that were being bothered as like her guests or her co-hosts. Like they're all panelists, as if like it's this big special thing, and I'm glad stuff like that happens.
Yeah, it's the United Nations is what it is.
Basically. And then someone who knows how they got the code to join the Zoom meeting, and on the news clip you see that there's maybe like 16 people there. So I'm guessing the password to join this meeting wasn't a closely guarded secret, and that's how someone got access to it. But they went on there. She was probably live streaming, and since they were showing pornography on their screen, it was her uploading that to YouTube. So I see how the whole thing happened. It's kind of funny. I feel bad laughing at them. It's kind of like when we laughed at, remember, I'm probably going back 2 years. There was the greeting card, the group of seniors who were making like
the seniors,
cards. They took it so seriously.
Yeah, we gave them a real hard time.
I feel the same way about this.
You do officially, yeah.
I'm glad they're doing it, and that it's sweet, nice and I'm sure they're all very intelligent. It's probably a bunch of PhD people and stuff that are doing this, but it's just this bizarre version of like modern pranks managed to take it all out, and I think that's kind of funny.
I like to imagine that the person who Zoom bombed is like a grandson of one of the panelists.
Yeah, like my grandmother, she takes this thing so seriously. Will join.
Yeah. My granddad's a real piece of shit, man. You should hear some of the stuff he goes on about calls himself a panelist when we're sitting at dinner. And it's like, oh my God, like, I just want you to drive me to the dance. And he's just like, I don't have time. We're saving the world tonight. We have to stop the war.
Yeah, it's that story cracked me up. I was excited to share that one with you tonight. I knew you would enjoy it as well.
I enjoy it. Yeah, it's always the case where the company does nothing about the situation until the media gets
Oh, I know.
involved.
But
That happens every time. It's probably the main reason people go to the media to
oh, it's
complain is because they're not listening to me, so they'll probably listen to you.
mhm.
And then all of a sudden something gets done about it and we're back to saving the world. And
Whether
but I would like to see them get Zoom bombed again. Unfortunately, I do want that to happen.
Um, we got one more voicemail to air before we wrap up the show here. This just calls back to a prior story from last week. I want to talk about it. One of the stories we talked about last week was the tires being pulled, the wheels being pulled completely off a car at night. You remember this whole thing? It was just a week ago we
I
talked
do.
about it.
Yeah.
I got another voicemail, and I don't think it's specifically in connection to that story, but it just so happens that in the same province, British Columbia, a listener of Keep Canada Weird was sharing a story about some stolen tires just kind of appearing at her job site. Listen to this. I don't think it's connected, but it just makes me think something weird is going on with wheels and tires in British Columbia. Here it comes.
Hey guys, I just started listening. I've got a weird story for you. It's happening as we speak, so there's no conclusion yet. I live in British Columbia and I work for a construction company. We are building a condo. It's just about finished, and a couple weeks ago, somebody broke in. We didn't find any damage except for to the exterior door. A few doors were left open and no tools were stolen. A few days later, we noticed that 3 sets of high-end tires ended up in the tenant storage and no one was living in the building yet. We couldn't figure it out. And then yesterday, we were reviewing the security tapes and discovered that the people that had broke in at 3 in the morning and dropped off all these sets of tires in the tenant storage and left. They didn't disguise their face or anything, and they drove a truck right into the parkade. Not really sure why they broke in the middle of the night to drop stuff off, but the story's unfolding as we speak.
Well, we're on the story. Could it be the same tires? Like, what the heck's going on there? That's weird, right?
It has to be maybe not the exact same tires that we saw in the story last week, but definitely connected in an organized crime sense. Like these are just other foot soldiers that have stolen some tires in the same orchestrated criminal web of tire thievery.
Hmm.
So I think it's all connected, and we'll have to see how it plays out. We're still early in this
Well,
thing. We don't
she
know.
says like it's just happening now, like no one's covering this. I don't think any news is going to cover it or anything. Like I think this is as far as that story goes. The police are probably going to take a report. Those tires are probably going to end up on like a police auction or something, and that's the end of it.
So why would they put the tires in there?
Yeah, like to find an abandoned kind of house. It's not abandoned, it's a house under
No, it's
construction.
being constructed,
So
right?
why be
Yeah.
like, let's break? Well, it seems like needing to, if you're going to steal a bunch of tires and you got to hide them somewhere, why would you hide them somewhere that you have to like break into? Do they not have
It doesn't make
anywhere?
sense. Yeah.
Unless it's a misunderstanding, like maybe they thought it was someone else, some other job site, or that they would have access to, or it just seems ridiculous to do that. Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. And then it also sounds like there's security cameras and everything here. So why the hell would they do this?
Maybe it's a gift. Maybe they didn't think they were breaking the law, and they're like, we want to
Like,
donate these tires to this construction company so that they can get the job done
we're like
faster."
Robin Hood of stolen tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but we don't have time to solve it tonight. We'll see if that's how that plays out. If there's updates, or if anyone has any other unique tire stories, I guess we're on the tire beat in BC right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a Keep Tires Weird podcast going forward.
Yeah.
It sounds like the tire stories are ramping up. Everyone's forgotten about the animal uprising. and it's all about tires now going forward.
That said, since we're on the topic of going forward and getting story ideas and such, we're coming to the end of the year. We're recording this, or this episode will be released Friday the 13th of December, which means the New Year's just around the corner. I was thinking something that I would like to do is put it out there for listeners of Keep Canada Weird to share with us your favorite story from the 2024 season of Keep Canada Weird episodes. If there's a past story that was one from this year that really stuck with you, I'd like to hear about it. Let us know. And maybe we can do some kind of like celebration of the best stories of 2024. If I had to think back of a favorite story, I don't know if I could do it. My memory is so short that my favorite story of 2024 is the story about the 93-year-old YouTuber who got her account taken down.
Oh, how convenient. My favorite story is the tire story from this week. Just because it's literally the last thing we talked about. And I'm really looking forward to people calling in about tires only going forward. So I just want next week's episode just to be voicemails about tires, not even about stolen tires, just tires. Like, tell me about the tires you have on your car. Are they winter tires? Are they big? Are they small? Tell me about a time you had to change a tire. That could be interesting.
I like where you're going with the future of the show, but I don't think we should pivot to tires just yet. We're going to stick on weird news for a little
It's
bit.
what the listeners want, though. That's the direction they're pulling us in. I mean, the voicemails speak for themselves. The last one that we heard was all about tires.
That's true. Let's start wrapping this up. One more administrative note, actually, however. With us coming to the end of the year, if you're listening to Keep Canada Weird on the Nighttime Podcasts podcast feed, you're going to notice some prior Keep Canada Weird episodes. I'm going to remove the 2023 season from the Nighttime podcast feed. That said, if you're someone who's going back and listening to all the old episodes, there's a separate podcast feed that's the Keep Canada Weird archive. If you just search Keep Canada Weird wherever you get podcasts, you'll always find every episode of Keep Canada Weird on the Keep Canada Weird podcast, on the Nighttime podcast, where the majority of people listening on that feed. I'm just going to have like the last year or two of episodes. So if you want to go back to the beginning, you got to go to the Keep Canada Weird podcast feed.
Excellent information.
Administrative note over. Let's put a bow on this.
Now back to the tires.
Yeah, let's put a cherry on top. Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan Bus Stop Bonaparte. Until next time.
The rabbit story I considered saving for Easter because my dad always would tell me that for Easter he was going to go in the woods behind my house and catch some rabbits for me as a little child. And I think that's why that traumatized me, and I think that's why that story kind of bothered me. It was because of my dad teasing me as a kid.
Okay, you were triggered by that.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Bus Stop Bonaparte. Until next time, if my love for you were to be attempting to go down a water slide and had to be weighed prior to being allowed to go down the water slide, it would be well over 300 pounds.
Or the new scale would just turn red and everyone would be okay.
Red for love.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. But if any one of you listening want to contribute even more to this work, we need all the correspondence we can get. If something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts, theories, or opinions on anything we discussed tonight, we want to hear about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. We're both excited to hear from you. Now I'm going to start wrapping this episode up, but before we part, I want to thank a few people. First, a thanks to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If you had a voice message aired, you can email me your address at nighttimepodcast@gmail.com, and I'll have your Keep Canada Weird badge sent out to you. I just ask that you use it proudly, but responsibly. Next, a big thanks to Aaron for another great evening with me and with you, our listeners, and a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data for the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, our work would be as pointless as it would be impossible. And on the topic of support, a special thanks goes out to the newest premium feed subscribers, Val, Jennifer, and Sheila. Thank you for going premium. For those who want to support the show that way, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes ad-free, get them to you 2 days early, and give you access to a full back catalog of nighttime episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium at nighttimepodcast.com/subscribe. And if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support this show by simply sharing the episodes on social media and telling all your friends they should listen. That's free and it really helps. Your support means everything. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you see anything weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
Hey, it's Pat from Peterborough calling. I'm just trying to figure out where to start here. So Randy, Stoney, you got really lucky there, but it was nothing short of blackmail that bailed you out. I mean, 4 showers, I guess, but what was going on? I want to support you, but you're using a lot of water, and then 3 stars. You should have just said the shower wasn't hot enough, therefore I give it 4 stars, because it's one thing. You said everything else was good, but I don't understand. But that's okay, buddy. I support you, and I'm glad you won. And then Aaron, the Google thing, that was Jordan that came up with that. I just caught on to it because I'm a keen listener, and that's all. I'm not always right. That's the whole thing about Google. We don't know everything. You just say what you say, and then you sort out the facts later, and that's what it is. And you're a man of theater, so I would assume you're a man of improvisation, and I think that's what's great about this show. Anyways, guys, that's all. Love the show. Bye.